Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Project Egg Show. Today, we have the honor of speaking with Adil Amarsi, a gentleman who is not only hilarious, but he's also helped his clients do over $500 million with a B dollars in sales. How you doing today, Adil?
Ben, I'm glad. Thank you. I'm so happy. I'm glad that I'm here. You are one funny fucker yourself. Let's just put it that way. You had me cracking up.
So thank you for coming on the show. I'm already laughing. There's nothing funny yet, but I'm
I
already
haven't said
laughing.
anything. This is brilliant.
So let's jump right in. What is your story?
Oh, awesome. Which story are we going with here? Are we talking about like how I got into doing what I do right now?
The big one. I'm
Ooh, the
talking
big one.
about
Cool.
the
The one that basically is me, my origin story. By the way, just a heads up to everyone listening. I have a very weird sense of humor, so I will be changing voices doing random stuff during the show. But please do listen all the way through because I will be giving you literally every nugget you will ever need on how to make a crap ton of money. So that's my promise. Why am I looking at my microphone? I said that? No idea, but let's go with it. Basically, so my origin story is I was about 5 years old, and this is a true thing. I was 5 years old. My dad was paralyzed from the waist down for 2 years. Now, for those that don't know how the brain forms the way it does, our brains actually don't have a conscious brain until we're 7. So 5, 6, and 7, those 2 years are like the most important, crucial to actually develop our personality and how we think and do things. In that time period, my dad had a very weird, as I said, he was paralyzed from the waist down for like 2 years. It was a herniated disc, I think. He had like a weird set of TV shows he liked watching, particularly a trivia show called 15 to 1, a numbers and games show called Countdown. If you're in the UK, you should be familiar. If you're in the US or anywhere in the world, look it up on YouTube. There's a really fun version called 8 out of 10 Cats Do Countdown. Same rules, but more funny. But the one I watched was very, very serious. And my dad's weirdest obsession, the Home Shopping Channel. Don't know why. The man loved the Home Shopping Channel. He literally watched the Home Shopping Channel 2 hours a day, 6 days a week for 2 years. And I have a big sister that used to beat the crap out of me. So you do the math of how I basically sneakily found out how to watch cartoons. It's known as sitting next to your parents and annoying them enough, or basically sitting with them long enough until they move and then changing the channel. So I would have Billy Mays basically going in here with words, numbers, and trivia every day for 2 years, 6 days a week, 2 hours a day for that part of my life. Well, it was actually 3 hours because the other shows were like half hour each at the time. Anyway, fast forward to me at 11 years old. My dad's fine and well. My parents get told by my teacher, your son's smart, but he actually writes really, really, really slowly. If we look back at it, if I had been tested for this when I was younger, they would have basically put me more on the spectrum, which I've been told by multiple people because of like I apparently have key indicated markers, which I find strange, but whatevs. So anyway, basically my parents get told, your son's a bit of a perfectionist. If I like, it was so bad that if I put a full stop, like a period point at the end of a sentence on a page, and I just put like 1 millimeter above or below like the line, I'd get so mad I'd rip the page out and start again. Like it was terrible. I was like horrible for doing that. So my parents like, okay, cool. He needs to go do this before he goes to like middle school. And so like my parents basically just made me write. They just got me to write stories every single day. And that kind of bled through until I was about 13. My parents separated for a little bit. I got into martial arts. I got into hip hop and writing music and basically just composing beats and stuff for other people. I never gave up on my ability to write. I always kept writing. In fact, I actually stopped drawing because my art teacher pissed me off so much. So I decided to go into writing full time. So I started to write and just express myself and write poems and write stories about everything I saw. But every week I had to give this, like my document, like my writing thing, my notepad. Yeah, my writing notepad to my dad every week to make sure that he actually could read through it and see what was in there because he wanted to keep progress. Now, at the time, my dad, again, could walk for a couple of years and my parents separated when I was like 13. So my commute to school went from 30 minutes walking to 2 hours on the bus. Like every day I'd do an hour there, an hour back. And I was a bit of a lonely kid. So I spend most of my time in my head in my book writing. Fast forward to 18 years old. I'm in a network marketing company. Me and my upline fall out. I end up going through this whole little thing where I'm like, oh, I'll try this online thing, whatever, see what happens. I try online digital marketing for a network marketing company that was a self-development company. And next thing I know, I had 7 people sign up from 10 people reading my post. I had a 70% conversion rate almost immediately without knowing I was a copywriter. No idea what one was. Went to a seminar, spoke to the guys at the seminar. They were like, hey, we like you. What do you do? I was like, I'm terrible at getting traffic, but apparently 7 people bought out of a 10 people saw this post, 7 people bought. And they're like, 70% conversion. I was like, yeah, it should have been like 100, but 17, not too bad. They're like, they just looked at me like I was being an idiot, but I was like, because in my brain, in my innocent brain, I thought you'd get 100%. That's where my brain came from. I was like, oh, if it was good, everyone would buy it. It's like 7 out of 10 did. Such a moron looking back. Went through, became a copywriter, had low self-esteem, so did not charge enough. Like I used to be able to do a full launch funnel, meaning like sales letter, emails, JV page, upsell, downsell, emails afterwards. I used to do that $500 and I'd get it done in 12 hours. Right. $500, 12 hours. To give you guys an idea now, I'm turning 30 this year. I'm about 5.5 months away from turning 30 by when we're recording the show. Because my birthday's at the end of September. I ended up, for that same package, you'd be paying around $18,000 plus 15% of the take. Like that, and you'll wait 8 weeks for me to write because I need to get everything perfect before I do it. Before I was just like kind of gunslinging, thinking I got this. Right now I understand there's rules, and the more you learn, the more you kind of want to masterfully craft every word correctly. It's not like, haha, here's 100 words. It's more like every word on that page earned its place. So that's basically my story of how I went on, how I basically broke into my big success. As I said, charging very little around the time. Someone saw my work and asked me to actually write a direct response campaign for them, like a direct mailing ad for them in the real estate market in the UK for a course that I think was like £15,000, so about $18,000 for 4 years. So it was high ticket. Before things became high ticket, they were just known as being expensive. It was a very expensive seminar and workshop, and they would support you for a full year of mentoring. The take I had was £3,000, which was more money than I'd ever seen at the time. Plus, I think, if I remember correctly, it was like 3% or 8%. It was a really low number. I think it was like 3%, to be fair, of the takings, of the first week's takings. They mailed this thing out, and I remember getting the phone call while I was working a job as well, because I was doing door-to-door sales. I get this phone call. Hey, have you checked your account? No. Hang up the phone. Bank calls. Hey, could you confirm your name? Blah, blah, blah. By the way, this company's deposited £80,000 in your account, so $150,000 at the time. I'm 19 years old. I'm like, shit, how the fuck did I do this? I looked at the metrics. We did about £3.5 million, or around $6 million at the time, in 7 days with a mailer that I created. I don't know how much they went on to make afterwards, but they killed it because their refund rates were ridiculously low. So I was like cool with that, and that was quite happy. And from there on in, I just started building a reputation as being this assassin with conversions. Like I'd look at your sales page and see what was wrong with it within seconds. I can figure out your story within moments. Like if I don't, like Ben, I don't really know you, but I bet you I can ask you 3 questions. I can find out your story and tell your story better than you can tell it yourself. Like that's at that point where my brain has got to. I'm like, yeah, I can just do this. It's piss easy. But that's my story.
So those 3 questions, I would definitely love to put you on the spot and do that.
Ooh. All right, let's do this. I love doing that. All right, so the first question is, all right, so this isn't one of the 3 questions. This is me just getting to know you. So what is it that you do? What was the crux of your business?
I interview entrepreneurs.
Okay, so you're an interviewer, almost like a digital journalist more than anything else. In all fairness, that's the first thing I differentiate myself with. What do you do? Digital journalist. What do you mean? I interview successful entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs in general, and I get them on my show and get them to spill secrets they don't usually share elsewhere. Bam. That's your hook right there. I don't even know your damn story, but here's how we'll do this. So the first question is, what was the big defeat that led you to go down this path hole?
When I launched my first book on July 3rd of 2016, I messaged every single person that I'd ever met in my entire life and tried to sell my book, and hit number 88 in the business category on Amazon, and quickly realized that I didn't know enough people and I didn't really know that much about anything when it came to marketing. So then I wanted to put people in a group, entrepreneurs, listen to their problems, write books to solve them. And then I very quickly realized that the people in the group way more knowledgeable than me. So I might as well just ask them for the answers instead of trying to come up with them myself.
Okay, so that was the big defeat, was the fact that you realized that you didn't know what you're doing. So what was the greatest victory in relation to that? So now you've had this happen. What was that point that you hit that you were like, yeah, I got this?
In regards to the show itself?
No, in regards to like your career, like in the sense of, how do I put this? So you've gone through this whole situation where your book's not launched. It is launched, but it's number 88. You realize all the stuff. What was that thing that you did that made you victorious? That you looked back at that failure and you went, cool, now I'm victorious. Did you relaunch another book that was higher in the lists, or?
Yeah, I mean, I've published probably 10 more books since then, and I've hit the number one Amazon bestseller list. But I think the one of the shining moments in my career has been interviewing Grant Cardone, getting to fly to Miami in the studio with him, getting to interview him.
Yeah, I saw that. That was pretty cool. So that's a victorious moment that you actually got to hang out with like people you admire. Exactly. But you've also been able, the other victory is that you've actually been able to understand how to launch books at a high success rate to get to number one bestseller. So that was like, that's another victory, right?
Oh yeah.
So the third step, which I'll tell everyone, but I'm not going to let Ben go through this, but like, I'll just tell you guys the third step. The third step is usually asking and finding out, if you're doing it for yourself, ask yourself, what specific steps do you take to get to where you are? And you might be like, I know exactly what all these steps are. Okay, great. If you know where these steps are, go to each one of these steps and reverse engineer the same thing by asking the same two questions. What was the defeat that got me to the step? And what was the victory that made me realize that I had it, that let me go to the next step? When you understand this, you never run out of content, by the way. So with your story, Ben, if I'm not mistaken, there's a very, very quick way of doing it, would be something along the lines of, I'm not going to say your surname because I feel like I'm going to mess it up. So I'm just going to call you Ben. I want to say Ben 10 now, but it's not even terrible. I know. Anyway, so here's what I would do. It would be something along the lines of, my name's Ben and I'm a digital journalist. In 2006, I quickly launched my book only to realize that it would reach number 88 on Amazon. And even though that's quite respectable, I knew I was capable of more, and I felt X, Y, and Z. You could say that I felt like a failure. I felt like I could do more. I felt actually determined to actually go out and learn more and figure this shit out. So what I did is, like, after this setback, I realized I needed to create something that would give me a bigger comeback. And the one metric that I realized, I didn't have enough traffic. I didn't have enough eyeballs. I didn't have people. So I decided to form a group or join a group or like start creating this way, where I started to interview the other people, hoping to take notes and figure out exactly how to do what they do, and then like reverse engineer it and teach it and write about it in my book, only to realize these guys knew more about what I wanted to write about than what I already existently knew. So like, I thought I was a master, but then I realized that I'm still the student. I'm still climbing the mountain with so many different mountains to go. The good news is I became a proficient quote unquote climber and a better journalist. So what I did is I decided to turn my talents over to actually interview these entrepreneurs, have them on my show, really glean the knowledge they had and share that knowledge with the audience and the people for time to come, whether that was writing through books, whether that's writing Project Egg or doing anything else. This has led me to go forward and actually being able to interview and meet my heroes, such as, and you list your heroes and who you, whatever it is. And what that means for you now is quite simple. Whenever I have a guest come on, whether that is me teaching you how to actually book yourself solid, how to become an industry expert, how to be seen as an authority, how to be seen as someone that has credibility, and most importantly, how to be impactful in a way that influences others while directly affecting your income in a positive manner. I show you how to do all of this and more. So what I do in my system is, and then you go into and you tell them exactly what you sell, whatever service that you have, whether it's getting on the show, anything from there, and then you follow them with the close. And there's a whole sales letter that you can write through that. Like with 3 questions, you can go through a whole letter.
Dude, that's monstrously valuable.
Thank you. I mean, because like I need people to tell me whether or not what I'm saying is correct, because I have that same look that you were giving me, which is kind of like, okay, cool. I'm smiling. I'm getting it. But in my brain, I'm like, have I lost him? Is he like, am I making sense right now? Or is this making sense to me? I did that Dude, I did that on stage like 6 months ago, and I was looking at like my friend in the crowd going, do I keep going or do I stop? And they were like, just keep going. I was like, okay, cool. I only found out like a week ago. Apparently, the reason that entire room, it was a small room, like 30 people, the reason that entire room was quiet and listening to me was because apparently I was teaching something that they'd never heard before. And they were like, now we have so many questions for him. We just need to take notes. I was like, oh, so it was a good thing. They're like, yeah, chill. You got this.
So it seems like at the heart of your copywriting formula or philosophy or whatever you call it, it seems like the journey is really what we're focusing on here, right?
Yeah, it's being able to create that empathetic connection between the two people, because like the journey's always there. The hero's journey is always going to be there, one of the four that you can have. But the way that I focus on it is and Bob Salling said this best to me when I was on his show. It was the difference between what I do and what everyone else does when they come up with stories is they actually come up with stories. What I do is I try and find the realest story, the story that's going to make the most sense, that like actually paints you in the light that you need to be painted in order to get the best results. Otherwise, you're just going to come off as everyone else. I mean, there's the whole thing where everyone in the coaching industry uses the same painful story. I was homeless. My kid was bad. I was broke. I didn't know what I wanted. I was in a dead-end job. I was like, guys, we've all had this. Do something different. What was it about you specifically? What was the thing that made you hate what you do? Was it the fact that you hated your boss so much because it reminded you of your father? Did you hate your day job because it actually put a strain on your relationship and actually led to you and someone that you really cared about breaking up? What was it that actually did that really pushed you to that degree? And it's like people don't want to like sit down and think about it, but when you do think about it, you hit that higher level.
It seems like one of the other key elements of this is understanding like how you want to be positioned and who you are, who you want to be. It seems like you need some level of clarity in order to apply this framework. What if you don't? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, no, I was going to say, no, I totally agree with you. I would say it does seem like that, but you also have to realize I didn't know who I was for about 10 years. Because I was so used to writing in other people's voices, I never took time to focus down on my own. So I actually used this formula to find out who I was. So for me personally, I was looking at it going, okay, with my copywriting career as a teacher, what was my greatest defeat? I was like, well, I was riding a really long like success streak. And like they tell you, no one goes 100% in copywriting, but I always hit, like to give you an idea, I think at the time I had 7,800 different campaigns I'd done and pieces I'd created. And then I lost one. I had only had one loss up until that point. And now I'm at like 11 or 12,000 like campaigns I've written for. I've got like 6 losses, like 6 clients I've let down, maybe 7, if that. Most of them came from last year because I was in a really bad headspace because I was trying to figure my voice out. So if you don't know who you are and what you do, get a notepad, write down the top page, who am I? And actually list it. Go really simple. I am Adil. I am a human. I identify as being male. I have male genitalia. I have black hair. I have a weird colored beard because it's black but ginger underneath, even in the right light, yada, 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 all these things. And then you just keep listing who you are. And then you keep going to like, what are my interests? What do I not like? What do I not like? What do I stand for? What do I not stand for? What foods do I like? What foods do I not like? What games do I like? What really draws my attention? And then go even deeper. Like, what do I want in a partner? What do I want in my life? It sounds really stupid and long. It is stupid and long. It took me 6.5 hours to write this damn thing out with carpal tunnel. And it really sucked. And I had to keep taking breaks. By the way, that wasn't at 6 consecutive hours. It was like 6 hours over 2 weeks because I had to keep coming back to it, deleting things, coming back and whatever. The long and short of it is once I found that, I was able to find my voice. I mean, you got to go through that suck part. You got to hit through that suckiness. On the other side, trust me, it's all gravy. You'll know exactly who you are, what you want, and how you'll get there.
Dude, I'm going to repeat the same thing I said earlier. That is powerful. That is massively powerful.
So that's 2 for 2 now. Make it 3 for 3.
Because one of the things that I see a lot like a lot, is somebody who's very talented and they have a lot of different interests. Maybe they can write, maybe they can speak, maybe they can do this. And they're almost not committing to that one thing that's going to take them to the next level and give them that, you know, that boost or that success that they're looking for. Right. Yeah. And it just seems to me like this is a really interesting way to almost flesh that out and figure out like exactly what you want to focus on.
Entirely, it is. And I'll say this much. The danger is I actually went through that process where, to give you an idea, I've written for like 350 different markets. So I couldn't be a niche specific copywriter because I got bored. And if you're like that, that's fine too. You can be like a multifaceted entrepreneur as much as you want. But here's my advice for you. Once you know exactly who you are at your core, anything is possible. Like, even though I actually do say that I'm a writer and a podcaster and one side or the other, I'm actually an artist. Like, in my heart of hearts, what is at Adil's core, at my, like, imagine planet Adil at the earth, at that center's core is being an artist. That bleeds into everything else I do. When I write, it's artistic. Like, you guys have seen an element of my writing by going and doing Ben's story in a couple of seconds. That's art to me. Being able to do the artwork I have, because I actually do draw, I've gone back into digital painting. That's artwork for me. Jiu-jitsu and doing like all the moves in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and moving my body around. Art form. Lifting weights, art form. Podcasting, art form. Everything is an art form. At least for me. For you, it might be something completely different, but by all means, go down that path. It's when you realize what's at your core and how it bleeds into everything you already do, that's when you have like that ability and certainty. And then you can focus on anything. Like right now, I'm focusing on, I think, 4 separate copy businesses that I'm writing for, 4 different voices, actually 6 different voices, 2 of them being completed tonight. And I'm still taking on more, but it doesn't matter because the whole art form for me is how can I project the greatness that's in my mind? And that's all I think about. That's all I think about. How can I leave my legacy so when I die empty? And by that, I literally mean, how do I die and not have any regrets that everything I did on this planet, I left something behind. Like, I left something that was amazing behind.
When you were figuring that out, of figuring out that you are an artist, and that's the thing that bleeds through everything else that you're doing.
Yeah.
When was that aha moment specifically for the artist?
January, like 4 months ago. I can actually tell you what facilitated it. It was my buddy Andy Hassong and I were having a really good conversation, and Andy said the thing that pisses me and everyone else that's known you for over a decade, like we've been friends for a long time, like everyone that's known you for about a decade, what pisses us off is that you haven't made $1 million like every single year and been the most badass person here. I was like, why? I'm paraphrasing his words and adding my own because it sounds more cool. His thing was, what pisses us off is the fact that you've not been successful the way that we want you, that we can see you being successful because you don't believe in yourself. The other way just made me sound a little bit more cooler and gave me some drive in what it was. So, yay, fun side. Love you, Andy. I would never twist your words. I just wanted to put my own little fun paraphrase to them. But what ends up happening is that, like, I got that belief given to me. I got that inner permission to say I can go ahead and look at this. So I did. The thing is that once I had it, I realized I could have given myself that permission a long time ago. So everyone listening right now thinking, I need permission to do this? No, you don't. Just start doing it and be like, reassure yourself when you're going down the path and go, no, I got this. I have permission to do this. This is okay. I'm allowed to be successful. And trust me, you'll start passing down that pathway and find your core very, very quickly.
Well, I think sometimes it does help to be told like, hey, you have permission. So for anybody that, or for everybody that is watching and listening, like, please take this as that moment.
Yep.
Please take this as that moment. Like, you have permission. We're giving it to you. Absolutely. 100%. 100%. Man, I did not think this is where our conversation was going to go, but I'm so glad that it did. I'm so glad that it did. You mentioned a little bit earlier how one of the goals of writing the copy, of creating that art is to connect, one person to another, connect those people. What's your philosophy on developing deep, meaningful, and genuine connection with another person? I know we talked about it a little bit, but I really want to drill down there.
Okay, is this like on copy or is this like in person?
I'm not sure there's a difference.
Slight difference. Because in person you have the ability to you can have humor, you can make fun of things, and you can bond very quickly over humor. But I'd say in copy, what really helps me gain empathy for my audience, partially because I do have, I hate saying this because so many people say it, but like, no, I actually am an empath because I do pick up other people's emotions, and it sucks. And sometimes it rocks. It's kind of the joys of being an extrovert. The thing that I actually have, so let's take away that advantage and let's just say, how would I do it if I was writing ads? I always look at people's pain very differently, because a lot of people have this whole adage where it's like, find their pain, twist the knife, let them bleed out, and then go ahead and help them. I'm like, nah, I don't like that. I like doing this, where the analogy that I like to use is that my customer is walking around in the dark, falling into piranha pits. You're not dying, just getting bit a couple of times. I come along and I have a flashlight and a map and says, this is how you know exactly where to go. And my whole thing is, hey man, let me get you out of this. Let me get you out. Let me put you in my RV. Let's put you in front of a mirror. Let's show you that you got a couple of piranha bites. Let's take them off. Let's put a little Bactine on them, and let's patch you up. Oh, by the way, if you're leaving and you plan to go your own way, do me a favor. Take this flashlight and this map with you. If you want it, you can buy it. If you don't want to, feel free to go down the journey that you want to go down. But here's a radio and I'll keep in touch with you. That's the analogy I have in my head. Because now what I'm doing is whenever I speak to people, and I have a very specific audience that I like to attract, I like people that are funny. I like people that have a sense of humor, that have that like similar things that I do, that watch similar shows that I do. They're video gamers, they're movie people, they like human psychology, they read a ton of books, they like podcasting, they like talking. Those are my people. So I innately send out this signal saying, that's what I want to see. So that's basically how I create a tribe and really get to know what they are feeling, is because what they're feeling is what I've already felt or am feeling. And more importantly, I can go ahead and be like, hey, let me share this with you. Let me give this to you. Let me give you this one little part of me so you can actually connect to. Let's have a conversation. Case in point, one of my best friends, she literally messaged me a little bit earlier going, how's your Monday going? Or what did you do this morning? I think it was. I said, woke up, watched Game of Thrones. Have you seen it yet? And they were like, no. I was like, damn, I'm not going to give you any spoilers. Like, damn it. It's like, I got to finish work. Got to finish work and go watch it. Cool. No worries. Have a great day. Bye. Just so much fun stuff between interaction. They're on my mailing list. They're actually one of my clients as well. They've been on my mailing list. And we'll go back and forth. But I talk about this on my mailing list. How much I love Game of Thrones, how to do cold opens, why I'm like studying weird video techniques, even though I'm not a guy that does a lot of videos, though I should be doing more videos. So that empathy really just comes from a place of, and it's going to sound weird, it's from a place of complete selfishness, because I know myself, I know who I want to talk to. So that's who I'm basically constantly weeding out of my circles. I'm like, oh, you're not my type of person? Cool, peace out. Like, no love lost, just see you later. This is not the person I want to hang out with. At the same time, with like in-person stuff, usually I know that within a couple of minutes. So I'll attempt to make a joke at my own expense. And if they laugh, we're good. If they don't laugh, I know it's a peace out moment for me. So that's basically it. That's how I create the empathy. It's a really roundabout way of saying it. But if you wanted to take home the steps of doing this, number one, go back to that document that you created. Number two, find out exactly what makes you laugh. And number three, write to that version of you. When you start writing to that version of you on your social media that you're mostly writing to yourself, other people will chime in and then you'll know who your tribe is.
Why is humor so important to you?
Oh, man. Okay, so this is a fun question because not a lot of people ask me this. And there is a very, very specific reason. It's not just because it feels good. It's because growing up, I had a pretty tough childhood. When I was 12, I think it was, I had my first bipolar incident. because I got bipolar type 1, but it's under control mostly. I had a situation where I was feeling really terrible. So I made someone else laugh. I don't know why I did. I made someone else giggle. And the endorphin rush I got off of making another human laugh was so amazing that I was like, okay, I'm going to make it my goal that I have to make one person laugh every day of my life. And it's been 17 years since that day that I made that promise to myself, and I haven't stopped making at least one person laugh every day. Like at least one person has to laugh every single day. Like even if I'm by myself, this is how crazy it is. I can spend the whole day and be like, I'm not going to be on my phone. I'm literally going to go downstairs and get the mail. I'll walk out my door. I'll meet my neighbor. I'll make them laugh and go back upstairs and go, that was cool, and just get on with my day. Or I'll say something really stupid. Like, I'm not prone to saying stupid shit. I do it all the time. I was trying to explain like the difference between a fire pit and a barbecue to a friend of mine. I was like, no, I really want to get a fire pit. And they're like, yeah. And they're like, then you can like roast s'mores over it. And I was like, I don't want to roast s'mores. I'll just put like some chicken on it and put it on the side. They're like, oh, like it'll be a barbecue. I'm like, no, it's not. It's just the thing that I'm cooking food on that isn't supposed to be cooked. It got really bad, like to the point where my friends were like, I don't think he knows the difference between a barbecue and a fire pit. I was like, I do know, but you're being weird. Eventually they came onto my side, but still just ripped into me the rest of the time. They're still making fun of me now. Like this, they literally made fun of me like 2 hours ago.
When you first meet somebody, and I believe you said you make a joke at your own expense, and if they laugh, then they're in. But if they don't laugh, that's kind of a telltale sign. Why is that the litmus test?
Because I like people that can be comfortable around themselves. And I make jokes at my own expense for so many things. Dude, I'm brown, have a beard. I look unkempt as shit because, again, moved home. All my stuff's in like boxes I still need to look through. How messed up is this? I found my clipper, but it's out of battery. So I'm like, no charger, damn it. So I look like the Wolfman for a couple of more days. But that's a sense of humor. That's a sense of humor I have, that I'll make fun of myself. I'm brown. I make terrorist jokes worse than everyone else because I'm like, I know you're thinking it, but I'll make fun of it first. And then you'll be like, oh, it's cool to make fun of him with that. I was like, yeah, but know that if you make fun of me for this, you've given me permission to make fun of you. And if you can't handle that, we can't be friends, because I'll make fun of you like till the cows come home. But I won't ever do it in a way that's mean. I'll always do it in a way that'll make you laugh. So for me, that's why it's so important, but it gives the other person permission to let their guard down while simultaneously giving me permission to continually connect with them as humans.
When you're building these connections with people, whether it be in real life or an event like this, or you're mailing your list, or you're creating something for your tribe, how vulnerable do you get? And what's your, I guess, theory or what are your thoughts on vulnerability?
Yeah, because that's become quite a big thing lately. Like everyone's been like, I'm so vulnerable. Okay, you guys got to realize I had my guard way up for a really long time. In fact, to the point that I was actually oblivious to it. I actually hated myself and I didn't realize. That's how messed up my psychosis was. I actually thought I was loving myself, but in reality, I was self-loathing. Talk about a little head fuck there. Had my head unfucked by my friend who basically really helped me out go through a transformational process last year, which was painful, by the way. It was this time last year. Well, this time 13 months ago. It was exactly this time 13 months ago that I found my life's purpose, and I found happiness from that. From that point, I could be vulnerable. Before that, I felt really awkward being vulnerable. But being vulnerable isn't, hey, let me tell you about every sad thing that happens to me or every happy thing that happens to me. It's like, no, what do I want to share that makes sense? That really makes sense. Okay, if I'm being vulnerable and I'm sharing that I was, at one point, I lost all the money I had. I was facing eviction. I was in a new city and my sister was being crazy with me. And like, that really, really pushed me to a point where, I was having like really dark, messed up thoughts. If I'm sharing that, there has to be a reason to it. There can't be just like, I'm sharing this for like people to like me and whatever, because likes don't pay bills, and they don't put money in the bank. All that does is say to other people, you're unreliable, that you're emotional, and that you will actually bail when you need to. When in reality, the way that you can save that story is just by saying, I remember that day and it sucked. So I don't ever want to go through that day. It's one of the reasons why I actually work my ass off to make sure that I can do what I'm doing, which is why I'm here admitting this. Because I want you to know you might be in that very same situation where you want to quit. Trust me, you can take steps forward and you'll get there. And if you need someone to talk to, send me a message. Now that's turned you into someone that's endearing. Instead of being a whiner, you're turning into a winner and you're helping other winners come by. That's how you're doing it. Vulnerability for the sake of being vulnerable is a fake marketing tactic that's stupid. Being vulnerable for a real reason to help people out and actually put the good in the world, by all means, I'm right there with you. And how I become vulnerable in what I do is I share what I feel is worthy. Like, I don't talk about my religious beliefs on anything really, unless I'm like in passing, like, oh, I grew up this way, or these are my beliefs, but they're just touched upon and then passed on, because the way I look at it, that's the level of vulnerability I don't need you to know. The level of vulnerability that you should know is why I can help you. Like, why can I talk you through, why can I talk you off the ledge? Well, because I've been on the ledge. So let me tell you how to get off the ledge. Okay, you don't know how to forgive your father? Well, neither did I. Let me show you how I forgive my father, or how you can get over that pain. Not that I teach any of this stuff because it's all for me, but like for my friends, I do this for them. So it's just a thing.
You've mentioned earlier about creating content. And once you get those two facets of, and I believe this is how you phrase it, and I don't.
Oh, dude, no, I'll change it if it is.
Yeah. So it's like the biggest obstacle, the biggest hurdle, the biggest failure, and then the big success. And you said when you can tap into those, you can create an unlimited amount of content.
Yeah. Especially when you got step 3, which is you've mapped it out. Because like, take it this way. So I'll give you an example with you, and I'm making this up because I don't know. One of your steps to actually get back to there would be, okay, I need to get more people and speak to more people. The defeat, and I need to get more connections. Okay, so what's that step? So step 1 to victory was get more connections. Okay, so what was the defeat in trying to connect with other people? The defeat was people didn't want to talk to me because they didn't know who I was, and growing my list was kind of hard. People do interviews with me was kind of interesting. So it was a bit of a difficulty initially. There was tech help that I needed, and it was crazy. What was your success? Well, I managed to get in front of a couple of people. They managed to actually pass my name around. I got the right people. I got the right systems. And then that moved me to step 2, which is actually getting interviews and distributing. Okay, so what was my defeat in distribution? I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know where to put my stuff, blah, 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 blah. What was the victory? Well, I did all this amazing stuff, and I'm live streaming on 18 different places at the same time. I'm able to speak to people like Grant Cardone whenever I can. I can interview them. I've made these amazing connections, and I'm at a point where I've got distribution and eyeballs coming in. Okay, what's the next step? Something to sell. I need the right offer. Okay, and you can see how every single one of these spells out at least 5 or 6 different pieces of content. And that's how you create the unlimited content model. Because now, let's just say like one of the hurdles that you faced in the mini steps that you took to get over, like say connecting with people, was no one knows who I am. Okay, so was my greatest defeat in people not knowing who I am. They didn't know who I am, so they didn't read my emails, and it really hurt because they would say yes and then say no. Like, I'll try to get on my show and they'll cancel. Okay, what was the greatest victory? Now people email me to get on my show. So it was like, damn, that's a 180 switch. Yeah, and this is how it feels. And now you've got like a whole little, like another 5 pieces of content. You can keep going lower and lower until like you're just like everything that's there is built up. So this is how the greatest defeat to greatest victory, that line, it looks like it's small, simple steps, but when you go into each one of those steps and break them down and go into the breakdowns of the breakdowns of the breakdowns of the breakdowns of the breakdowns, trust me, you have unlimited content created right there.
That is powerful, because the question that I was gonna ask was, okay, well, how do you like keep going with it, and you just keep drilling down into what you've already talked about, and then your journey is going to keep progressing, so you're always going to have new, bigger, higher level things that you can continue to drill down to.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
And say you want to like move to different markets, like you have a different experience. Well, okay, here's another one for you. What was my greatest defeat in jiu-jitsu? it was when I thought I was going to get my blue belt and I didn't. I had to wait a whole damn year. I actually stopped training for 3 months because I was sulking like an a-hole, and I also got ill because I had ringworm. Okay, so what was your greatest victory? Actually getting my blue belt on the day presented by both one of my best friends and one of my instructors, and also our head instructor in front of our entire team. And both instructors said something nice about me, which was insane because everyone else has had one person. We had two. It was crazy. Okay, I'm teaching jujitsu, let's just say, or I'm teaching marketing. And I'm going through this entire event here. I go, okay, what was the first thing I did? Well, I got back up. I went back into the gym. I spoke to my coach about what I could do. Okay, great. Step 1, got back up, find out what you could do. Step 2, started training consistently. Step 3, after taking time off, stopped sulking and actually got his shit together and went back and doing what he loves doing. Step 4, worked really hard and trained. Step 5, became consistent. Step 6, got his blue belt. Okay, let's go back to step 1. How did you start training after such a letdown? Okay, well, I had to speak to my coach. That's the first thing. Second thing, whatever. Okay, how does that translate to business, Adil? Quite simple. You take those same steps and you turn them into marketing. So when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I found that I didn't get my blue belt, and that was a horrible defeat for me. The victory was I got my blue belt. So what I did was I went through 7 specific steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 or 6, and each one you list them. You say, over the next couple of days, I'm going to tell you exactly how each one of these steps actually applies to your marketing and how it will basically help you get from where you are to where you want to be anytime that you've been let down. You're telling the same struggle story of the same shit that you went through your business journey, but through a different medium and a different message. In that same sense, it's twice as effective because there's an old saying. It's not the message that becomes diluted, it's the messenger. If the messenger sounds the same every single time and the message sounds the same every single time, people will become numb. So by changing the messenger's voice or tonality or something about them and changing the message or doing both, will actually get people out of their shell shock and get them awake and going, oh, okay, cool, now I understand. It creates familiarity, content, and actually gets people to have the new around them.
You know what's really interesting about what you're saying and this process or strategy or way of, I mean, it's almost like a way of life of going about communicating. One of my favorite books of all time is actually right here, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
Great book.
That is exactly the storytelling method in the book. For example, I remember one story about Abraham Lincoln, and he had a general who wasn't, performing at the level that he needed to be performing at. And so the problem was the general wasn't really performing. The win was, hey, trying to get to the point where he was and getting him to that point or finding a new person to, take that place. And whatever the win was, it was exactly that same formula that, Dale Carnegie, one of the greatest self-help authors of all time, and arguably one of the most influential authors of our generation and of the century, maybe, uses that same framework. So I think it's definitely rooted in some very, very powerful, very, very, very powerful fundamentals of communication and writing and psychology. So this is very interesting, man. That's just what jumped out. Question for you.
That's awesome, though. It's a great book.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic book. Question for you. You said 13 months ago, you really discovered your life's passion.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's gonna sound a bit weird. It's esoteric, but I actually have it written down on my phone, so I don't forget, constantly. It's twofold. So the first one is, I'll give you guys the overall mission, but it applies to me. So my mission in life is quite simply to inspire others, well, inspire everyone really, and myself in this, to feel embraced, happy, wanted, loved, and empowered. So anytime I meet people, that's what I want to leave them with. And how I do it's very specific, by the way, because I actually also figured out what my modality of finding these things out are. I'll never ask what is up or what's wrong. I'll always ask what's up. If I ask that question when you're having a bad day, that's my way of actually working through the cognitive, how do I determine what the best path of this is? So it's Ben, I'm sad. Ben, what's up? Oh, just this thing's bugging me. Okay, cool. Let's talk about that. And then I'll figure out like 2 or 3 little details and go, okay, so here's how you basically fix it. Bam. Here's your formula. Go do this and be happy. Or I don't have money in my business. Okay, why don't you have money? Like, what's wrong? I don't have money to get a client today. Okay, so what do we need to do to get clients? Blah, blah, blah. Tell me a story. Okay, cool. Let's come up with a formula and plan. Let's go do this. Bam. It's like 30 seconds or like a minute or two, and I actually have a formula in my brain that goes for it. So that's basically what my life's passion and purpose is to inspire others and myself to feel happy. Well, it's exactly to feel embraced, happy, wanted, loved, and empowered in that order.
Do you feel like that's going to evolve over time?
I believe it will, but I think that's actually the core of it all. Like that's where the artist's framework is for me. Like I think 1 or 2 things might add to that is I'm inspired to create so much to but to envelop those feelings in others.
It's interesting.
I'm a weird person at times, but it's awesome.
It is awesome. And it's awesome that you took the time to come on to the show today and talk to us about it and share all that you have. So I want to thank you very much for doing so and for sharing this time with me.
Dude, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun. Like, I'm glad that I made you giggle. That was always the best part.
So I have a few more questions for you, then we'll wrap up.
Sure.
What's your greatest theory?
My greatest theory on what?
Whatever comes to mind.
Oh, life? Okay. My greatest theory. Wow, I have like so many theories of this. All right, so let's find one that is cohesive. I used to have one when I was a kid, and this has nothing to do with business, but I think this really shapes the way I view the world. I have this view that like every person on earth is literally nothing more than a blank mannequin walking around. And our personalities and our brains and everything else is basically what projects through the front. And that's the hologram we see as people. So yeah, that's basically like the theory. The theory is basically the whole reason behind it is, why do some people see each other as being beautiful and other people as seeing ugly? Well, it's because the mannequin they're portraying is actually their inner world reflecting outward into this holographic body that's being shown to us. That's one of the theories. The other one, I've got so many. Like, I have ones on like the tree of life and understanding like how destiny works, and other things that's very, very simple as like my theory on human behavior and what we're going to do next is that we're going to hit a plateau as a society. And we're already seeing this, but we're already hitting de-evolution, where we're actually going backwards into more tribal thought and tribal think than we are right now in expansive thought and expansive think, because we're not actually ready to do so. And in doing so, we'll actually have a betterment of stuff, but we actually won't. At the same time, there'll be like a lot of infighting, but ultimately like benefits us and helps us move forward. And ultimately, the way that works in terms of my theory to do with business specifically is being the person who tells, not just tells the best story, but the one that feels their story, that is true to their story, that's true to what they've gone through, is the one that wins everything. The person that's truest to what they are. So the truest will actually rise to the top. And that's my theory on life. That's my theory on business, is like, you got to get there just by being good. But simultaneously, you got to promote yourself. So I give you like 6 different theories there by accident.
Well, that's great. And the very last one, and I do wish we had more time, because I would love to dive into each and every one of those in excruciating detail. Round 2. Definitely round 2. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The truest will rise, because I feel like people are getting just over corporate speak and like talking to a brick wall of corporateness and business. They want to talk to an actual human and want to connect with an actual person. So I think you're absolutely right. I totally agree with that theory.
Yeah, I agree. Like that's something I see so very often, is people do want that. They want to have that feel.
Exactly. So 2 more questions for you. 1, is there anything about yourself that you think is an important part of who you are that I did not ask you about today? In other words, what did I miss?
What did you miss about me that I'm surprised you didn't ask me about the podcast? That's the one thing I'm surprised by. So I'll explain why. Podcasting is an extension of me. Actually, it's not even podcasting. You didn't ask me what medium works best for communication. And as always, face-to-face is the one that I would go with. But it's really down to how you're comfortable. Because I'm a writer, but I hate doing written posts. My personal favorite thing in the world, podcasting and videos. I hate editing. That's the only thing. I dislike editing. So I always try and do it as raw as possible and get it right in one take. And the reason behind that is quite simple. And the reason why I actually say to answer my own question I'm posing that you actually asked me is what medium is correct, is because if you know exactly how you personally think and feel and act, that will ultimately come through in the authenticity of what you're saying to others. So yeah, that's basically it.
So by the way, for the videos and that stuff where you're saying you don't like editing, maybe live streaming is the answer to that. Because
I'm doing that right now. I think this week, the week of the 22nd of April, 2019. I'm doing 7 straight days of 7 different pieces of copy content to go out, just randomly. I'm like, all right, let's do this and see what we can do. Because live streaming is fun, but I love podcasting so much more. I think it's also because live streaming, right now I look like a wolf man and my friends do not let me live it down. This is how crazy it is. You guys can see this. My hair doesn't look that long, but when I pull it down, it's way down to here. And it's a freaking hot mess of ridiculousness. And my friend Courtney Blair, who I love, well, not Courtney Blair anymore, but Zippy Content Courtney. I don't think she goes by that sound name anymore. But Courtney, she basically always tunes into my live streams to not make fun, but comment on my hair. She's like, please don't cut your hair. We love your hair. I was like, thank you. So weird, but okay. Yeah. So that was that.
So last question for you.
Sure.
I'm 24.
Yes.
And, we've talked a little bit about what I'm doing, and, I have the show and I have another business outside of it as well. But what question should I be asking you? Specifically me, asking specifically you with your experience, wisdom, knowledge, your genius, that I just wouldn't think to ask.
How do I become a better copywriter? Specifically, the reason I say copywriting is because it combines sales, marketing, strategy, and empathy all into one with great storytelling. So how do I become a better person like that? Or how do I become a better storyteller? That would be the question I'd have you ask me.
Can you answer those questions?
No, I can't. Of course not. Of course I can. Clearly. Okay. So how do you become a better copywriter? Well, I'm going to give you 3 practices, and anyone listening is more than welcome to join. These are the 3 practices I give every one of my copy cubs. I'm going to give you 2 book recommendations. Okay. Actually, 2 book recommendations and 1 video recommendation. That one's going to suck a little bit because I'm going to effectively spoil books and movies for you forever. So number 1, find your favorite movie that makes you feel every emotion you think you can feel. Or hits a high level of emotion. And then study it. Sit down with a notepad and go, why do I laugh at that joke? Note down the times that you laugh and go, why do I laugh? Why do I feel emotion? Why do I cry? Why do I feel like crying? Why do I feel happy? Why do I feel inspired? Write that down. Then go back and watch those scenes over and over again and break them down. Notepad. Why is this happening? Write what's going on. Write down why it's feeling this way and try and express it in a way that makes sense to you. The reason I'm feeling this way is because Rocky is hugging Apollo and it's like a rivalry has been buried and now best friends. Okay, why does that matter to me? Why does that force me? And you go down into self-excursion. In that time period with the movie, that's the number 1 thing. You'll figure out exactly how to write in an empathetic way to make people feel that way. You'll understand how to write that way. So that's a whole new tool belt of emotions to use. Second thing is I would get you to start, if you don't do this already, handwrite some good copy, find some really old ads, and people are really pains in the ass about this, but get a notepad and pen, old school, and there is a reason. Write that shit down by hand because it actually etches good behavior on the back of your head, on the back of your brain, sorry. It actually etches that shit in. So you'll actually realize between what's good and bad very quickly. It helps the filter come through. The reason when you want to use old ads and new ads as well that convert really well is because old ads are timeless human psychology. New ads are new age switches that we're looking at. We haven't really evolved all that much, but we're looking at things differently. So the new stuff is like how the new people are speaking. The old stuff is the base psychology that's underneath. The third thing, I told you I'm going to give you some recommendations. This is the third thing. Number 3, start reading really good novels and start watching really good movies. Look for shows that have really high ratings and study them, because you will find a wealth of information. Also become open to learning from different teachers, not just the ones that you like. Like literally look at the bad guys as well and find out why they do things. Karl Rove recently released a masterclass on how him and I can't remember the other guy basically did the campaign for George Bush in 2000, 2001 and how they won it. Here's the thing. You don't think that I'm going to look at that and go, how the hell did they get a dummy into office? Okay, let's study that. That's what I'm looking at it with. I don't like Karl Rove. Screw that guy. He hates people who look like me. But you know what? Screw it. I'm going to go study him because he's pretty amazing at what he does. So let's go do that. The other thing that I'm going to get you guys to watch. So number 1, pick up a copy of Chris Carter, Crucifix Killer. It's a really simple read. And the reason I say this book is because I went through a reading burnout a few years ago. I couldn't read anything, specifically fiction as well. And I got through his book in 2.5 days. Just powered through that book because I loved every single bit. Study that book as a way of actually knowing how to build very quick continuity in a book that you don't know, and also create intrigue and interest, including doing plot twists correctly. That's a great book for it. 2, the other book I want you to go read would be, if you can get your hands on it, Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. It's absolutely brilliant. You can pick it up from my friend Brian Kurtz. Just type in Breakthrough Advertising Brian Kurtz. He'll come up on his site and you can actually go ahead and get it for I think $97 or $197, which is a bargain because if you're trying to buy it on Amazon, it's like $200-$300 all the way up to a couple of $1,000. It's a very good book. Videos I want you to go watch. Number 1, I'm very conscious of time. Number 1, it's for me. Do you play video games? Do you play video games at all?
Yeah.
Okay, some people don't. They're really weird. What's your favorite video game?
Well, growing up, to be honest with you, it was World of Warcraft. I played the shit out of that game.
Yeah, WoW is amazing. Not gonna lie, I was a mage for a really long time.
I was a hunter.
Fine, screw you then. But no, I was gonna say real quickly though, so I played Gears of War growing up. I love Gears of War. I think it's one of the best emotionally well-written games ever, and I suggest people check that out, or Mass Effect, whatever. It's just the first 3 games. The reason is you can go on YouTube. It's about 6 hours long. Look through the videos and study the cutscenes. When you study the cutscenes, you'll actually have a full understanding of what's going on, and most importantly, you'll be able to dissect those to realize how you feel emotionally. So do the same thing you do with movies, but with the 6-hour thing. And I guarantee you will feel every fucking emotion under the sun, and you'll know how to write about it as well.
Yes, that's awesome.
Boom. There you go.
There's a 3 of 3.
It's about 5 and 5 right now, because you said that before. You said like 2 more early in this show. I'm going to take those.
Oh, yeah. You should definitely take that.
3 by 3, that's fine. I'll get 3 by 3 and a double win on the awesome scale.
Okay. Perfect. So again, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Adil, for coming on the show. I really do appreciate it, and very grateful for the time that we've been able to share together.
That was my cat. Yep, she finally managed to get on the screen as well. Like all this time, we've got 2, and she managed to get on the screen.
She's famous.
She is. Like the other one's way more famous, but she is as well. But dude, thank you so much for having me, and I hope we can do this again. I'd love to come back again to do a second round.
Absolutely. Thank you. And to everybody who's watching, listening, regardless of when you're watching, listening, thank you so much. I love y'all very, very much. Y'all are the reason that I do this, and I cannot thank you enough. So thank you. I'll see you on the next episode. If you're listening, watching, whatever, I'll see you there. So,
hey guys, thanks for having me. Bye.
Absolutely. Let's change the world.